Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Thank you for joining me this Monday evening. It is for me, and it's the time that this video is going to go up on YouTube. And it's time for a comic book review video. Thank you for joining me once again, or maybe for the first time. I will be reviewing 9 books this week. And it's going to be slightly different, not greatly, hugely. For those of you who don't know, usually what I do with my comic books, I read them over Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I go and have my fun weekend with my other half. We do crazy, silly, relaxing things. And I come back home on the Sunday afternoon, jot a few notes down about the comic books, and do the video, edit it, and then get it ready to be uploaded for the Monday evening. I haven't really had time to do that this week. I have read all my comic books, so what I thought I'll try, given that I've probably finished the comic books on Thursday evening, I got through them quite quickly, to be honest, this week, and I haven't really thought about them since coming back home today. I'm going to see what I can remember of them. And I'm an old man, I'm 47, I know it's not old, but it is. And we're going to see what I remember of them. I put them in the usual, what I remember of them being entertained by, so the least to my pick of the week, which will be right at the very end. And let's just see how this goes. It will be completely unedited, which means I have only got half an hour to do this because my camera only films in half-hour segments for some reason. 30 minutes comes up, it switches off. So let's kick off. Before I start, spoilers, yes, that's in effect. I'll be talking storylines, character development, cliffhangers, all that good stuff. So if you've not read any of these books, then please stop the video, read it, come back, or just fast forward it until you have had the chance to. Let's start off with my least like this week. It's the final issue of Cullen Bunn's XMen Blue, and as much as I've kind of enjoyed this book in its 36 odd issues following the time displaced young X-Men team around, it really didn't feel like it affected anything else going on around it, and this is kind of like the cherry on top of that particular non-thing that they've done throughout this series, because we have them kind of coming together, getting ready to leave and go back to their own time, because them being in our present day is supposedly causing all sorts of craziness of what I've yet to see. And so they're kind of wrapping all the loose ends up, and some of them I'm like, okay, kind of. So you get them going to Mojo World and cleaning something up from there. Cyclops says goodbye to his dad. They go to Madripoor with the, I think, is it the Rakshna? But these kind of street urchin mutants, underground movement. And help them kind of move on from their kind of ragtag environment and take them to the Xavier Institute to be trained as proper mutants. And they're all basically saying their goodbyes, blah, 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 blah. And then they, just as they're about to go, they see on the news it's Magneto with his new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and they decide to stay. Oh, what a surprise. Of course they were never going to go. It's not even as if some of them could go back to their present time who wanted to, and some of them could stay, because how complicated would that be? But I just feel that these characters for Marvel have got more not staying power, but more material for Marvel to use in our present day universe. It makes absolutely no sense, but it's comics, so what can you really do? But it just felt a little bit of a cheat ending, with them not going back to their own time and letting, you know, our present day universe just get on with it. So as I've said in this kind of run up these last few issues, as much as I've enjoyed reading it, it's not like I've ever disliked it, but it's just been quite the average comic book, and I'm not really very sad to see it go, but in some weird way kind of interested to see where these characters will end up now. So that was my least liked book. A shame, but this was this almost made the bottom of the pile this week, and I'm very, very disappointed. But it's Chip Zdarsky's Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing and the Human Torch, basically wrapping up this 10-issue run of The Thing and the Human Torch, Johnny and Ben, going out to presumably look for their fellow FF members. All the while, The Thing thinking that they are dead, and this is just to kind of take Johnny's mind off it all and get him doing adventuring again. The problem that I think we've all anticipated with this particular kind of last few issue run is that the Fantastic Four new title has already come out. It didn't give this a chance to end. And I really don't feel like this is the ending that Zdarsky wanted for this, but it's the ending that he's had to do to kind of catch up and make it feel like there's a transition, although I feel there is not a patch of transition from the end of this book, which is the end of The Thing and the Human Torch, because the next kind of issue for Marvel 2-in-1 is The Thing and Mr. Fantastic. But it has no transition from the end of this to the start of this new series of FF we've got going, which is already, you know, 2, 3, is it 3 issues in now? I think, is it 2, 3? I can't remember. 3, yes. No. I can't remember. And another part that's kind of let this down is the artwork. It feels incredibly rushed. It looks rough. It just doesn't look good. And I don't necessarily throw the blame at either Zdarsky or Perez on this, Ramon K. Perez. I just think they were rushed into finishing and wrapping up this particular storyline. There's not really much to say about it because it's all kind of neatly wrapped up very quickly. Johnny and Ben both get their powers back to full effect, which helps them take down the kind of evil version of this dimension's Spider-Man. The Thing and Human Torch can now take down the Thinker, who has kind of taken on this mantle of Mr. Fantastic, wanting to be the new FF, thinking that Reed Richards and Sue have now gone, so the world needs an FF. Despite how evil he may be and his kind of cohorts, they're easily taken down by our pair here. And then it's just like, it just kind of ends with kind of this apparition, I guess, of Sue saying, you know, it's kind of time we all got back together again. Well, you could have told us that before FF started again. It's a shame because this has been actually a really great run with these two characters, and Chip Zdarsky writing this great story of this dimension hopping pair, but it just did not end well at all. Moving on to issue 19 of Matt Kint's XO Man of War, and usually this is kind of higher up in my kind of entertainment value. The problem I found with this issue is that it's clearly coming off the back of Harbinger Wars, the second one, crossover with all the different other titles under the Valiant flag. I don't read anything else from Valiant apart from this, so I kind of felt a little bit lost. I could see that something big and epic had happened. This kind of, it felt very much like the SHIELD spaceship or craft that, you know, flies and it's crashed on the ground, but this is called, I think is it the Gate or something like that. It's crashed to the ground. There's obviously been, this is really bad news, and it focuses very much on a someone who was clearly in charge of this. Again, you see, I don't know anything about these characters. I didn't read Harbinger Wars 2, so I'm kind of trying to pick things up as I go along. Yes, we've got this very tough woman who puts work in front of everything else, to the point where she loses her relationship with her girlfriend, and she's kind of forced into getting Arik to help them with this spaceship that no one can penetrate. Anyone who goes in there doesn't come out, and we have this new storyline with I guess these kind of aliens who are looking for a princess, if I remember rightly. It just all felt a little bit weird, and after, you know, the kind of, we've had the whole XMen War, Arik out in space, we've had that kind of ascension from, you know, being a soldier in the ranks and becoming this kind of Visigoth ruler of this planet, and then to come slap bang back down to Earth, literally, and finding his past life basically in tatters, and where does Arik go now? And it just felt a little bit at odds. Perhaps if I had read this event, it might have flowed a little easier for me. I may have got something a bit more out of it, but at the moment it just feels like a new baddie for Arik to go up against. There's no, it doesn't feel like there's any subtlety going on at the moment that we've seen from previous storylines. Hopefully Matt Kint can raise the bar a little bit with this story. I don't know how much longer this has got to go, what the future is for XMen War. I'll stick with it for now, but it better get a little bit better, has to be said. Moving on, my one and only DC title this week, it's issue 55 of The Flash, and we have, I guess we're delving into the next new force that has been created by Joshua Williamson on this title. We've had the Strength Force, we've had Barry become all, you know, muscular and basically hulked out. But that's gone now, that's been controlled, I guess, and now we're moving on, but I don't get a sense of what this new force is. Yes, we are dealing with Heatwave, one of the Flash's rogues gallery of villains, who clearly is imbued with whatever this next power is, because he becomes, again, kind of an ultra version of what he originally was. And you know, it's quite devastating what goes on in here. He basically lets loose all this, I guess, firepower he has, but somehow the Flash and someone else, I can't remember who it was, they survive it, but everyone else has been basically obliterated, been burnt to just their skeletons. And then we get this huge, great big version of Heatwave. So clearly the next baddie for him to fight and hopefully, you know, take down. There's kind of little threads weaving in and out. Iris meeting his work colleagues and the dynamics between all those, which is okay. It's an interesting kind of sideline that might be leading somewhere. Don't feel like it's doing real much apart from bringing not even bringing Iris any closer to being part of Barry's life as Barry, but it does seem that there's going to be some sort of friction between her and our new is it Commander Cold, the guy from the future who's now stuck in our present, who's had to take a job in a bar just to kind of make ends meet. Kind of weird, but there you go. Again, it was a fun comic book. It's this whole Force thing, I feel like it's still trying to find its feet. Again, it's very reminiscent of the whole Green Lantern and the different coloured rings that Jeff Johns brought in. But I do really appreciate having Scott Collins on the art here. I think it's fantastic. The colours, who's doing the colouring on this at the moment? Colours, Louis Guerrero, but doing really fun stuff on that. I'm a big fan of Scott Collins when he's ever doing anything. There's this weird kind of things he's seeing, whether this is real or not, or whether this is another of the rogues gallery messing with Barry's head, Mirror Master. But yes, there's a kind of creepy zombie looking Flash. It feels like it's connecting to this Heroes in Crisis thing. I'm not quite sure what that bit is about, but I'm guessing it's going to be tied in some way, having sent Wally to this sanctuary place at the end of the last story arc. But I'm sticking with Flash. I enjoy it enough for it to be kind of a middling book in my pull list when it does come out, so it's not going to go anywhere. Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, Chip Zdarsky's last issue, 310, bit of a swan song. Chip Zdarsky does a little bit of kind of Astro City-esque storytelling where we kind of get these vox pops of all the citizens of the city and how they feel about Spider-Man and how they've affected their lives. It's a kind of done in one. You don't really need to have read anything before. You probably won't need to read anything after. It's just kind of a done in one. Chip Zdarsky showing how much he loves having loved writing Spider-Man, and it almost made me cry. I can't really say much more about it. There isn't particularly a great big storyline in here. It's just people and their impressions, whether they're positive or negative or somewhere in that grey area in the middle. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. Another Spider-Man title, it's The Amazing Spider-Man, Nick Spencer, and this time Humberto Ramos doing the artwork. Otley obviously having a bit of a break, I guess. But this was fun. I enjoyed this. It is kind of turning the head on things, as we all know that this Boomerang villain character is a roommate of Peter Parker at the moment, which seems strange, but is helped by the storytelling. Nick Spencer does a little bit of kind of retelling of how this situation has happened, so it's helped me as a reader realise, you know, why is Boomerang getting away with all this basically villainous stuff, and why is Peter letting him live with him? But what happens is Boomerang is such a fan of Peter Parker somehow that he takes him to the bar with no name. We've seen this in so many different titles, this bar with no name where all the villains hang out, and it's kind of like a neutral zone where they just, you know, enjoy themselves and have fun. But the funny thing is, it's kind of like quiz night at the bar with no name, but all the questions are about Spider-Man. And so basically Peter Parker, in essence, really cheats because he knows all the answers. He becomes kind of the centre of this bar, and it's kind of ironic that he is really Spider-Man and he's having fun with all the villains he's ever fought through all his lifetime. And Nick Spencer really plays up the humour on that. But at the same time, we've got Kingpin not happy with Boomerang. Boomerang, you know, thinking he's got a little bit more chops about him than he really has. And the text message goes out by Kingpin that he wants Boomerang. So we're in a bar full of villains. Peter Parker is in the midst of it all, and we're obviously going to have a ridiculously stupid fight coming up, and we're going to see how Peter Parker can extract himself to come back as Spider-Man, I guess. But it was fun. It was kind of frivolous and silly, but in an exciting, fun way. So really enjoying this new run by Nick Spencer. I hope all you lot are too. Something very different, issue 2 of Cold Spots. It's interesting that this is so high and that I was so entertained by it, because I have to say, given that I'm sure I've read that this is a 5-issue miniseries, which is odd because this feels a very slow read and nothing really happens apart from a kind of setting up. But I am very invested in it all. It's very spooky. It's kind of got that Wicker Man vibe, where it's like the citizens kind of all know what's kind of going on, and they're keeping it from this investigator, detective-y type guy who's come to try and get the daughter of this clearly wealthy guy, this wealthy man, back with the creepy ass daughter, which just happens to be the investigator's daughter, and the tone is great. It's very spooky. It's very claustrophobic, and you get this weird little island where the mother and the daughter are hiding out on, and you obviously get the creepy ass owners of this house that's in the middle of nowhere. But apart from that, nothing really seems to happen. But I was thoroughly intrigued by it all. I just don't know how much of this is going to work, given that, as far as I know, it's a 5-issue miniseries. But I'm in for the ride. I really enjoyed it. The supernaturally vibe, I just wanted that to kick in a bit more. We saw elements of it in issue 1. Need to see more, and quickly, before the series ends. Moving on to penultimate book of the week, and I've said this before, I don't know how Max Bemis is getting away with this being a regular title in the Marvel Universe, because hell, Moon Knight 199, and for the last couple of issues, has been seriously dark. This really isn't one for the kiddies, and there's no parental advisory guide on this, but it's certainly dealing with some kind of serious dark issues and playing with some very adult themes. We have Mark Spector still being kind of played and taunted by Ernst, who was this kind of fake rabbi of his youth that was really a Nazi and was torturing young boys in the cellar of the synagogue, and now he's kind of become this enemy, evil villain for Mark Spector to go up against. And in this issue, Ernst continues to try and break down Mark Spector to really go dark, to become the evil that Ernst wants him to be, and we get, you know, demons and all the bad and the evil come out to try and, you know, break Mark down. But eventually all kind of his inner personalities come out and take down Ernst. And just as you think that's kind of the end of this story arc and everything's going to be, well, kind of happy enough in the Moon Knight universe, because it is the present current version of the character is very dark anyway. We get the reappearance of the sun god. I can't remember if it is Sun Ra, but yeah, the last panel shows the Sun King is back again. I'm guessing this is for the 200th issue of Moon Knight to make it big. What really is kind of steps this book up more than just the breakdown of Moon Knight and the characters within him is Paul Davidson and Matt Miller's artwork on this. It's fantastic. It's kind of, it edges on the very comic booky to being just like incredibly dark, and it almost feels like it's a Vertigo title, or even an Image title. You could get away and feel that this was more appropriate to that kind of publishing, you know, section of the comic book world. But just to be a standard kind of Marvel title, I don't know who's not watching Max Bemis, but you keep your eyes averted and let him continue. Unfortunately, I did tweet at Max and ask him how long he's going to be on this. I actually think he's ending with issue 200 and wrapping his whole run on that, which is a shame. But nonetheless, it's been a great little ride, and if you haven't been reading Moon Knight, wait till the trade of all Max Bemis' work comes out. You are in for a great read. So finally, on to my pick of the week. Again, very surprising, but nonetheless, it was a great read, and I'm so happy that this has come to, you know, full punishment. It's The Punisher. It's issue number 2 of the new series by Matthew Rosenberg, and it's just fantastic. It's what I want from a Punisher book, but with that little bit extra added to it, because it always feels like, much like when you read like a Conan book, I kind of attribute it, and there's a kind of relationship. When you go into a book like Conan, or you go into a book like Punisher, you kind of think you know what you're going to get, and for the most part you would be right. You're going to get, you know, Conan, it's sword slashing, it's a kind of little bit of mysticism with it. With Punisher, you know there's going to be guns and there's going to be explosions, but Matthew Rosenberg has really kind of upped the stakes for Frank Castle in his current run. We have always had the Punisher kind of mostly being on the, I'm going to get rid of kind of drug dealers, mafioso bosses, you know, street level crime that he has, I guess, kind of been brought up with as, you know, a police officer back in the day before he became the Punisher, and then throughout his time as the Punisher. So to have him now kind of elevated to being the kind of #1 wanted by Hydra has really, like I say, it's kind of elevated the Punisher's role in the Marvel Universe. And I love the touches that Rosenberg brings in this by kind of drawing in characters that fit in so well in this particular pocket of the Marvel Universe. So for instance, in this particular issue, we get Luke Cage and Danny Rand, Iron Fist and Luke Cage. What is it? Is it just Luke Cage? He's got a name. I'm sure he's got a forgotten. But you know who I'm talking about. They turn up trying to take down the Punisher. That's not going to happen in the sense that, you know, the Punisher escapes. But then we get good old Daredevil. Those two have had a history for who knows how long. But just a fantastic issue of the Punisher. I am on board for his run. He better be around for a long time. Pick of the week. Love it. Love it. That's it for me this week. Thank you for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already and hit the notification bell. Comment down below. I love you all. Thank you for watching. It's much appreciated. And I will see you Wednesday for more new comic books. And I've done it within half an hour. Bye.